Welcome to Mystic's View. Sharon Raji Maynard here. And in this growing world of podcasting, there is an increasing variety of subjects, and I love that. When I joined the podcasting community a little over a year ago, I decided to do what I do in my life when I want to begin something. Just jump in. Let it grow organically. A little like the Nike branding of just do it. In our world, we are presented with many problems. Albert Einstein gave great advice that still holds true in this matter when he said, "Problems cannot be solved by the level of knowledge or awareness that created them." We have to get outside of our box of the way we think. It was curiosity that took me on a radical search for answers. And those answers came from the spiritual world, from those teachers that I call the ancient ones. Their knowledge is the foundation for this podcast and the way I see life. Come here as you are to see the situation through my eyes, realizing that diversity is a natural outcome here on the planet, and diversity inspires and expands our capabilities. There is great value in listening deeply to one another. I continue to use space in my art/studio/office as a podcasting booth, and I hope you enjoy these conversations we're having. If so, I would appreciate a rating, some stars at any of the podcast platforms you use, because we're really in life, including this conversation together. And if you want to hold hands with me more deeply, go on over to the Patreon platform, patreon.com/Mystics View, and I'll meet you there. And now, enjoy this episode. I'm up early this morning, 5:30. Usually I would have a glass of water and go back to bed. I've kind of gotten in the habit of restless nights and sleeping in mornings. My great medical doctor tells me that I'm an elder one now, and sleeping patterns change. Restless and sleeping in is the new norm. I don't know about that. However, there is something very, very inviting about pulling covers up over my head on a misty island morning and drifting back to sleep. But today I'm up. Coffee prepared, raspberries picked, lettuce harvested, and now settled in with my feet up to write. My landlord Dave has been on his 17 acres of land for over 40 years. To say he gardens would be an understatement. He gardens. Every area on our planet has its own unique climate, quirky seasons, and soil needs. Our island is no different, and so I don't consult the Farmer's Almanac with questions about growing. If I have questions on this plot of land, I ask landlord Dave, usually. My life has been a bit busy during the past 4 years, and gardening and great yard care has not been a top priority. I have watered a little, weeded seldom, and trusted that landlord Dave would always come around on his trusty riding mower to spiffy up the grass. I had noticed, however, that last year my new lilac bush had lots of leaves with brown tips. Now, I really love lilacs. I grew up with lots of lilacs perfuming the air, and so this spring, with more time and freedom, I determined I would be more diligent about watering my lilac, and it worked. It was loaded with purple flowers and yummy lilac smells. Well, I thought, it worked. As a few weeks rolled by, I walked out my back door to see my lilac bush. More brown-tipped leaves than last year. I wondered what had gone wrong. Had I missed that many days of watering? Well, I must have. Dry leaves don't lie. And I determine I will do better next year. Does that ring a chord in you? New Year's resolutions? I'm going to take better care of myself. I'm going to stop eating that type of food. I'm going to say no to things that I no longer want to take on. Yep, those commitments. With not enough follow-through, they're all around us. And then came a visit from my landlord, Dave. He comes around whenever there is a fix needed to the house. He is really good about that. He knocked on my door the other day because there is water damage. I do live where there is lots of rain. He needed to get his eyes on the problem in order to plan the solution. Great. He looked, we chatted, and then we walked to the door together. Yes, the same door that would lead to my poor, bedraggled lilac. Now, landlord Dave loves flowers. In fact, my lilac had its start at the foot of his larger grove of lilacs. So we walked out the door and he said, looks like your lilac has some pretty brown tips on its leaves. Oh, indeed, I thought. But out loud, I replied, it does. I had thought I was giving it enough water, but I guess I missed more days than I thought. Landlord Dave chuckled. That is not lack of water, he said. What you have is an infiltration of moth eggs. What? My face said. Yes, he continued, this particular species, and I don't remember what they are, they lay their eggs between the leaf layers, inside the leaves, right at their tips. You cannot spray or apply any kind of product to kill the eggs. Once they hatch, those caterpillars emerge, and they are a very pretty moth. These are not dry tips from lack of water. They are dead tips from a moth invasion. And he laughed. What you have to do, he said, is that the very first indication that there might be an egg in the leaf is to take the leaf off the bush and dispose of it entirely. Well, no wonder water was not helping. No wonder I had more dead-tipped leaves this year than last. I had created a lilac moth nursery. It was growing right there in my yard by my back door. That just goes to show if you don't identify the problem correctly, your solution is not going to help. It takes me back to the quote from Einstein. We can't solve a problem from the consciousness from which it was created. Well, lilac leaves are a small message giver. And as I lay in bed this morning, I realized that there are many messages around me. Many messages to indicate that invading and ever more predatory parasitic forms live amongst us. I have heard that a healthy plant does not attract parasites. Perhaps low watering had made my plant vulnerable, and the parasites or the invading moths found it. And so what does that idea say about the parasitic behavior of people and organizations around us? The greed, the disregard of others, the low wages, with all the profits rising to the very, very top. I have a friend with breast cancer. Now, cancer certainly has the capacity to overtake the host, so we call cancer a life-threatening disease. What about a client whose partner is using her as a resource, feeding off of her work, her money, her time? Now, this is the same behavior as a parasite on a plant. Isn't his behavior every bit a cancer in my client's life? And today, the Sierra Club is asking us to pay attention to Alaska's national forest, the Tongass, a magical, old-growth, one-of-a-kind place. It's being targeted for clear cutting by a timber company. Not appropriate harvesting. That would contribute to the health of the forest. But clear cutting is a form of parasitic destruction. It leads to death of that forest. In a healthy body, there are T cells to call out an alarm at any sign of invaders or things that are dangerous, foreigners. With cancer, we are told, no alarm goes out. The T cells have come to see cancer cells as normal. There is no voice to sound an alarm and call in the warrior cells of the body's immune system. Sounds like what's going on in our world today. The parasitic nature of charismatic beings in our world, for example, this mask that hides the nature of I'll take advantage of you, we often call charisma, and we consider it an indication of goodness. And we, especially women, are here to serve goodness without question or without vetting. Our quote-unquote T cells of discernment have been twisted and turned off, and we do not recognize the problem, the energy of parasitic beings. If our personal leaves begin to dry up or our energy is sucked dry, we apply a solution from the false sense of where the problem lies. We think about adding more water. We've done something wrong. What do we have to do differently? I'm not enough. If I were just better in bed, fixed better meals, made him feel appreciated. Just like me trying to fix my lilacs' dried leaf chips by adding more water. And as always, I'm getting to a quiet moment to let my stories move within you. So here's a question to consider. Where is there parasitic activity in your life that has gone on without your personal T cell of recognition and alarm? I'm going to let you be with that for just a minute. I don't think there is a more critical call in our world today than the one to all of our T cells. We have lived too long with crippled, hobbled immune systems in our physical bodies, in our family, in our homes, in our cultures. And without that T cell of alarm and action, our societies, our elected officials, organizations, and cultures are sucking us dry. It is the job of T cells to name invading parasitic behavior for what it is. And then the job to rejuvenate the rest of our proactive system to move such energies out of our culture back to their origin, back to their home. So, well, there you have it, my rant for this episode, and an invitation to act. Knowing, even if it is knowing the correct problem, is the booby prize. With no action steps, you are left as an angry, frustrated rebel without a cause. So here's the cause. Go to the Facebook Mystics View page and find the monthly call online for ideas. There are already strong pillars for collaboration. I know how to bring and sustain the health of my lilac plant. I know how to eradicate parasitic behaviors in our society and restore health to individuals and communities. Check out the monthly call and join in. Thanks for coming along and sharing this episode. These various stories may stretch your mind, challenge your dogma, awaken you to new possibilities, or resonate with your own experiences. I'd love to hear any of that. You can always find me on Facebook at A Mystic's View, of course, and the same on YouTube, A Mystic's View. When you see the value of this podcast, please share with your friends, and I would love to have you give us a rating. Some stars would be wonderful. You can become a member of the Mystic's View community on Patreon, where you can support us at any level, and we're really a growing community with all the gifts and ideas that I'm sharing back into that group. So there you can find us at www.patreon.com/A Mystic's View. The pressures of this world are rising. And what does that mean? And how can you effectively respond? My intentions is that my stories and sharings through this podcast will give you more insight, encouragement, and help you discover your own magnificent connection to that self beyond sight. It's a strong place to build from. Until next time.